First of all, Lee, it's getting ready for that busy weekend towards the end of the season, of course, but obviously last week's result didn't go down well. That's done and dusted now, that's out of the way. So what response have you got?
Yeah, well, it's not done and dusted. What we've got to do is we've got to respond. Not only the players, but us as staff, we've got to respond to it because it clearly wasn't good enough against Cheltenham. I've always said you lose games, but there's a way of losing football matches, and that didn't represent what I think we are in any shape or form. So it's got to look better than that. So we can't just dust it under the carpet and hope the next one is better than the previous one, because we've got to do much better than what we showed on Thursday night.
Of course, you're going into that 3-game week. How do you approach it?
I'm saying it's come at a good time because we want to be out on the pitch. We want to be putting better performances on. Yes, we need to do some work on the training ground in terms of what we look like and what we're after in these games. But it's come at a good time. It's an opportunity for players to push cases forward. It's an opportunity for them to start the next 4 games of football. We've had a really good response, like you'd expect from the players. I spoke to a lot of them during the week in terms of what I expect and what we've not been doing. So I'm trying to turn what is a negative in terms of the result and the performance and where it's left us into a positive.
When you talk about it, there's a lot at stake for players with the team selection you pick. Is that something that you're really analysing, which way you name your first team to go to Colchester, from how they've responded, how they've worked in training, and what you feel is the right opportunity for players to have a chance?
Yeah, and look, there's not going to be drastic changes to the squad. What I'm after is players to be able to play in a manner and what we're asking. That's the main detail of it all, the nitty gritty of it, playing in a manner in terms of what we're after. And then on top of that, they've got to be working hard for each other. We've built our success or being in and around the playoffs for the last 2 years on hard work for each other, with the obvious bits in the middle of that. So they're the things I'm after, people being able to perform in a manner in terms of what we're after, and then are they committed to each other in terms of what they're doing without the football. 4
games to play. You've always said that you've got to maintain belief that you can get results. It's a topsy-turvy season. It's been in League 2 for more or less everybody. Who knows where it could take you, but you've got to keep just chalking off a win. Well,
you win the next 4 games and you just never know, but you're hoping for a lot of teams to slip up. I know a lot of teams are playing against each other, but my main focus now, between now and the end of the season, is to get better performances. That's what we want. You want the wins. I spoke a lot about sometimes it's not about performance, it's about the goals that happen, but we fell way short of what I expect of us as a group against Cheltenham. Low intensity game. I think 3 times we made passages of play where we're able to play to each other and carve the opposition open, and we've got to see that on a more regular basis.
You were very clear after the interview, and it was a horrible time to be talking openly, but you have opened up every time we speak to you about the way that you want this football club to run. You said you've got a clear vision of the way forward. Do you want to expand a little bit more on that? You can't reveal too much, obviously, but what do you mean?
Yeah, there's decisions to be made with players, isn't there? There's a definite decision to be made in terms of what we look like on the pitch, what I think training should look like moving forward, what the schedule will look like moving forward, which will look different going into next season. And I'm really clear that, look, I'm not going to go into the actual details, nitty-gritty of what I was thinking, but what it does is, like I said, I'm going to turn what's a negative into a positive, and with that has to come changes. It's not just only on the field, but what we're doing off the pitch, and that's going to happen, and we've put that process in place. We've had some meetings as staff this week, but I'm crystal clear in terms of what we've got to do moving forward to next year to try and keep us on this cusp of trying to get in and around the playoffs, because I firmly believe that we should have been in a position to be able to do that this year. We've got to make sure that happens next year.
For the players in these 4 games, it's an opportunity for them to prove they are good players, and it hasn't just all evaporated overnight. If you want to put it in the words of prove a few doubters wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. What we've got to do is we've got to put on better performance, Graham. And I keep saying it, and it's down to the players and us as staff to be able to come up with a clear game plan for them in terms of what we're after on the pitch. There's one or two players out of contract, isn't there, who will be looking to impress between now and the end of the season. That's what they've got to do. There's minimal pressure on them now, and the expectation level of us getting anywhere near the playoffs is particularly low. So there should be no pressure on them. They should be going out with the freedom, which I've been unable to get them to do in the last 4 or 5 games particularly. So I'm looking for that in the game. They've got to fight for each other. They've got to fight for the fans. And we're putting them processes in place to make sure that happens.
Well, over the last 9 months, you talk about the supporters. You've grown the attendances both home and away. You've had some terrific home crowds and some fantastic, consistent away followings. What's your message to them now?
Yeah, that is to please carry on what you're doing. I appreciate the frustration. In the last 15 games particularly, but stay with us and keep with us. We want to try and get to a point where we've got a more consistent team out on the pitch, which we're going to work hard it trying to happen. But the fans have been brilliant, and like I say, when they have a pop at me at times when it's been just, I don't have a problem with that. I ask for a bit of perspective at times in terms of, I bet we've spent a month in the last 2 seasons out of the top 7, and I know it hurts this season in terms of where it looks like we might end up finishing, because we need a lot of teams to do us a favour and also do our own jobs. But we're going to work extremely hard to get that feeling back amongst the fans that they've got a team they enjoy watching more than anything and they're proud of.
You've taken long-term injuries on the chin. There's no doubt about that. You haven't harped on about it. You've had to just get on with it. Where are you up to? Obviously, the news is broken on Jack Lancaster, who's had a horrible sort of last few months. Where are you again? Because 1 or 2 have become injured.
Yeah, I feel for Jack. He's had the shot at Bradford that's hit the post, which I never got a phone call about that from the referees back, by the way, about it being offside when it was clearly onside. And he's just twisted his knee, and he's had a meniscus tear operated on, which these days are pretty routine. It's gone really well. So obviously we're looking to get him back for pre-season because he's a terrific player, isn't he? And he makes such a difference to us when we can get him on the pitch. Longy, Mattis, Tabs, they'll be in the reckoning. Connor Thomas will be in the reckoning to come Friday. James and Charlie, we'll get them some more minutes on Friday with the under-21s, and then they'll be looking to be involved in the last few games, which is good. James trained the other day and Charlie trained. James was right at it, played him out of position a little bit in 11v11, but he was right at it just because of the numbers. And then Charlie Finney, we need to get him somewhere near because the boy's got some talent. He's got athleticism. He should be looking at certain players that play in his position this year, thinking, why can't I do that? Because he's got all the attributes. But we're looking a little bit healthier. Who can start? We'll find out at the end of training today. But I always say, Graham, I don't use the injuries as an excuse. I don't think I harp on it about it too much. It can become frustrating at times, but I try and keep that frustration away from the players. So it's something we have to take, something we have to be mindful moving forward. Again, that's why we spoke a lot to the medical team in the last 48 hours in terms of what training will look like next year, what days we're going to be off, etc. Because if you keep doing the same thing and it doesn't work out, it's the first sign of insanity.
Well, your next stop, taking your team to Colchester, you would have loved to have been in their position with the way that they're on form. And they've looked at, I think it's somewhere just told me 2 defeats in 18. So they're right in the mix. There's a lot riding on the game. You'll want a professional performance.
Yeah, they're a good team. I said that last time they came. They had some injuries. They've got the centre forward back. It looks like they're probably missing another one. So they've just got experience all over the pitch, and they've got game changers very well organised. Look like a 4-2-3-1, a 4-4-2. Done a really, really good job. I've said it before, changed their model a little bit in terms of what they're doing, and they've gone for it. But I know what I'm after from our players. And from me from on the sideline and what we want it to look like, and that expectation level is high. What the result will be, I'm not sure, but what I'll need to see out there is the performance that I'm after.
Well, there's always something riding on football games, there's no doubt about that. If you look at 3 or 4 games, Colchester bidding for the playoffs, Tranmere are on an excellent run and looks as though they're going to fight their way out of being in the bottom 2, and Walsall, who knows what's going to be at stake when that one comes around. So it's a real chance, this one, the games that you can really get a great viewing of your own players.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got MK, obviously got a new manager coming there. It'd be interesting to see what route he goes down. So look, we've got interesting games coming up. We've got teams, however you look at it, are playing for something. MK obviously can't go down, can't go up. New manager goes in. Will he be looking to make changes in the summer so their players are then on show? But that's likewise for us. What I'm looking at in our players in the next 4 games. They know my expectation. They know what I feel a Crewe player should look like on that pitch. And we've got to get back to that pretty quickly.